Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow. In today's episode, we're going to get back into a new decade, okay? So I already did the top 30 OAVAs, TV shows, and movies for the 1980s. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the 1990s, okay? So I'll start from 1990 and work all the way up to 1999 and go through each and all these significant titles from every single year and then build a big top 30 countdown. So again, this is going to take me a while. It took me almost 14 episodes to do it for 1980, and this one probably will be a lot longer because there's now the new generation. Like, my generation, started in the 80s, and of course we had to, suffer through a lot of things. Like no translations and, very hard distribution, with the VHS tapes and all that stuff. But now in the 1990s, the anime companies started kicking in. So, now there's basically a source that a lot of people can get certain types of animes and that kind of stuff. Big boom in the new OAVAs and animes and movies that sort of came out. So a lot more titles we can deal with. So, it's going to be a little bit harder than the 80s just because of the sheer volume. But again, we'll go through it all and I'll make this list of the top 30 titles for you. Okay. So before we begin, I want to remind everyone to go down below and click like and click subscribe. I know that any sort of comment that you can make will help the YouTube algorithm promote it and make it available to more people. All right. So anything that you do will be great. That's I don't ask for much, but again, if you could at least do that, then it will definitely help the YouTube algorithm. Thank you. And for those who like to support me financially, I do also have the super thanks button down below, as well as the links for the PayPal and the Patreon. Now, I've been building a lot to the Patreon recently. I've now put a lot of resources available to you people, as well as a lot of the content that is for the subscribers that I cannot put on YouTube because there's now a lot of topics that I'm now covering which are not allowed to be put on the YouTube. So all those things are now available to the members there. As well as I've also now put the my audiobooks available as in audio form and on video form as well. Those are also partially free to the Patreon members, so do check that out. Okay, and so for all the other new users that are on this channel, I've also compiled all the episodes of the History of Fan Anime into a large database sheet. And if you like to basically look at different episodes that are pertaining to certain topics, like maybe CDs or maybe art books or maybe the fan culture itself, like conventions and that kind of stuff, they're all put together in a book-like fashion and they're put into the spreadsheet. Again, the link is below, as well as other resources like the database sheets for the MyAnimeList of the 1980s, and of course the top 30 animes of the 1980s is also all available in spreadsheet form there. Link is below. I also want to mention that I've done some revamping recently of my own website. I've used AI to basically help rewrite and update and make the website easy for me to put the changes to it now. So I've done half the upgrades and that kind of stuff there. So sorry to put that up. One of the most important sections, or newest sections that I wanted to always revamp was the old FAQ section. Back in the days, things like the GameFAQs.com and whatnot. They used to post up how to work at certain games and how to do different progress in different games. So again, I've had done that and put up some of the things that I've done and whatnot for that. So I've done the things that when I was doing playing Ascension, Live Beach Volleyball, playing Greaser, and Pokemon Go, all that stuff I've also put on there. I've also put all the various different tips and sort of DIY stuff for things. When I went to basically build my own drum stand, how to do mods to the Alexi's drum set, bar and that kind of stuff. I also have done things like when I bought my Korg guitar, how to do maintenance and different modifications of that. So again, if you want to have a quick look at that and see all the various different little things and more, basically know more about you, do check it out. I will do more updates and that kind of stuff as I'm going to try to transport the database and that kind of stuff all all the episodes and that comes onto this website as soon as I can figure out how to actually get the code for that. So again, do take some time to check that out.
Okay, so the year is 1994, and I've already covered the new TV shows of the second season, which is obviously the spring season. We've already done that, so again, I've already done all the new shows, and we're speeding ahead through all the all the old shows. Again, if you want to see what was covered in those episodes, do go back and look at season 1 for 1994. Or go see the ongoing ones from 1993. Okay, so this episode we're going to start with the OAVAs for 1994 season 2, and right off the beginning we have the Oh My Goddess series. So again, the first sort of series for the Oh My Goddess series for the original 5 OAVAs. Again, really nice story. One of these the angel comes from from heaven to to grant the guy a wish type of thing, and becomes the girl the interest sort of mini harem, if you will, which spawned that entire both a little bit of the goddess type of genre, and also the harem type of genre, i.e. known for things like Tenchi Muyo and whatnot, right? So very, very popular series, and beginnings of a lot of that genre. I think it was a very pivotal start, because I think this is the one that really kind of kicked off that sort of note that, hey, this is a theme that a lot of people, I think a lot of guys, I think really, really liked. Again, aimed at that particular market, right? And it's slowly, as more in these kind of titles appeared in the future, they'll appeal to more and more different types as well later on. But yeah, definitely a very good OVA set to get into. The next one on the line is Genocyber. So this is another one of those good sort of I wouldn't say 3Gs, because I don't think the art style is really that nice on this particular show, but definitely the amount of the violence and all the action base is very, very good in this show. Hey, questionable of story. I don't think it's a really strong story, but definitely good action and good sort of time filler sort of thing. It's a good watch sort of thing, right? Just don't pay, just don't think about it too much, right? But yeah, I remember Central Park Media picked this up quite early, and it was a good title for them. I'm sure in terms of sales and that kind of stuff as well. So definitely a really popular hit there. And the last one on this particular line is Random and a Half, the OVAs. Okay, so they released a whole bunch of short OVAs following the very long TV series for Random and a Half. Extremely popular. So they decided to release a couple of several OVAs for this one. Like many of Rumiko Takahashi shows, she always introduces like a wealth of different characters that keep reoccurring back into the series. A lot of the episodes have the same kind of formula too, but the ongoing sort of question whether or not Rama and Akane is gonna get together and that kind of stuff always kind of reveals itself both in the movies and in the OVAs. So that's one of the things that the fans have always been wanting when releasing new content for Ranma. So definitely a long-awaited one for fans at this particular time as well. Next line there, we have another 3 good blockbuster type hits for OVAs. We have first one is Iria or Zeram, and this is a nice little OVA set here. Because a lot of people were like really getting in. They're sort of halfway between things like Vyogoroi and DNA Squared, and so this sort of film just fits right in there. It has the same flavor as the Battle Warrior Altilia, okay, and these type of things of a strong sort of fighting female character is a really no, I guess in a sense that is its own trend, right? So definitely really good for that. Next one on the list is their Dominion. So this is the new Dominion tank police. So they had a really successful first OVA set that they made for Dominion, and that worked out really well. So they decided, okay, yeah, we're gonna have continue on, make some more of it. So they labeled this one as the new Dominion tank police. Again, slightly updated artwork. Again, still same animation quality and that kind of stuff. Shiro does a lot of that kind of really popular things. Return of some of our favorite characters and that kind of stuff, like the Puma sisters and that kind of stuff. So they bring them back all into the story and they make more episodes of that one. So again, really good popular show there. And the last one on the line is the new Cutie Honey. So, I said, I have never really been a big fan of Go Nagai artwork, because I just, and one of the major problems is that, they don't do a really good job drawing the female character. So, on this new version, so this is a new updated version of Cutie Honey, they finally corrected that problem and actually got some really nice, female artwork. It definitely does, I think the whole sort of quality of the faces and the way that they draw things has all been updated. So now much more details and pay attention to the female body and of course also the the whole entire look. So of all the Go Nagai kind of stuff, this one probably is my favorite of that because I said it definitely does address my issue of good character artwork. Okay, on to the next line. We have okay, so on the line there's two shonen yaoi type titles here, right? So this is the Boku no Konoma Kananai. I mean, they've released a kind of a CD called Kananai before, or Kunanai, so I should say. And there's the other one is Hoko no Shinjutsu. Okay, now the timing of these two shows is probably a little bit premature. Again, the market for the girl yaoi type titles is pretty a little early. Okay, and so these are very short series, only one episode, 2 episodes, and of course no one knows who they are. No one bothered translating that kind of stuff because again the audience right now is still very very male orientated, right? So very 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 low interest in these particular titles. But at least they had some diversity at that time. Not that they actually sold anything or anything very well, but but more attention is the one in the middle, which is Goto Man. Now I bought the laserdisc for this one and actually did the subtitles for this one. Very much in the same flavor as the Cutie Honey or should I say butt girl type of mysterious warrior butt girl if you want to call it that way. And it's very funny because this is very it is the Cutie Honey type of superheroine type of show, except they obviously I think this would be the rival to Breast Man, I suppose, but what her main attack happens to be. So and this is one of those really. This is one of the house that ADV probably would have done really well with, and whatnot. So again, it's it's light enough, not quite in the hentai range, but it's getting pretty close, right? So and it's a very comedic one shot, and that's all they did with it. I think there was many more mangas and that kind of stuff in this sort of genre that worked really well, including the concept of like the hentai kamen type of thing, right? That's in the male version, right? So, but yeah, definitely a nice fun OVA, and I thought it was rather kind of good that we actually ended up getting that subtitled as one of our additional titles as well. Okay, and the next line is the Bakuen Campus Garters, or combustible campus garters. This one was actually really popular. Production IG, so very good company that it came from. A lot of people like we didn't fan sub it, or didn't fan sub, but one of the other groups did it, and it was actually in pretty high circulation in terms of popularity. Because like I said, very few things are available. Outside of this, what we've basically done, right? So, OEVAs were really, really, in high demand, and this was one of the ones that a lot of people, wanted to get copies of because it's sort of an action type of thing, without all the extra fan service, it's basically kind of like the predecessor for Ikitosen. So in that respect, it was pretty cool. Female character design was really nice. I liked it in that respect as well. The next one is Idle Defense Force Hummingbird, okay, or Hummingbirds. So this is your, in some ways, with kind of like mixing like the Top Gun and an Idol show kind of thing together. This is one of those premises that it wasn't so much on the anime that that sparked all the popularity. It was all the seiyus that was there. So it's the Amagata syndrome. Even so much so that they got the seiyus to make the kind of hummingbird band and even release like CDs with them singing songs and that kind of stuff. So it was really more about the idol girl kind of aspect of it, but they just threw in the fact that they were actually pilots as well, right? So in that respect, it was kind of a different take, but still the promotional backing and that kind of stuff was all primarily to make it a show about singing and marketing seiyu stuff, right? And the last one in the line is this Nana Yoshi Montedagari. Okay, so again, one of these sort of shows that really nobody knows anything about, right? It's another one of these totally forgotten. Nobody bothered translating it. Now the only thing that was sort of really neat about it is it has artwork very similar to like the Legend of the Galactic Heroes kind of artwork. Maybe even that kind of a bit of a sort of Mobius type of a feel to it. But it's because of that. Because it had no translation, is one of those titles that just gets lost right behind the shuffle. And again, because no one bothered licensing it or releasing it, again, this is one of those OVAs that just slips away in the background, even though it actually, might have some good names and that kind of stuff. Again, just slips away in the background. Okay, on to the next row, we have the Future GPX Cyber Formula Zero. Okay, so again, based off of the futuristic racing show, GPX Formula Formula Zero GPX. Okay, this is the Zero OEVA for it. Again, for those people who are like really interested in that kind of racing series and that kind of stuff, they were really happy to see more OEVAs of it because just the more progression of his racing. In this sort of like initial D kind of thing, right? But yeah, again, if you're interested in that kind of thing, that was what was released there. Next one is Shin Kajuo. Initially, it was released under like Peacock King, but then as it changed licenses, they named it Spirit Warrior. Okay, so this one was really good because it's it was in that same line as the Wicked City, Demon City, Shinjuku, Goku Midnight Eye, all that kind of stuff, right? Is in that genre and in that art style, and a lot of people really like that kind of thing. This is, of course, more swordsmanship and little magic and that kind of stuff from and whatnot. So, in that respect, it was really good. But definitely, that was one of the titles that a lot of people were kind of after that one. Again, it was good that was Urban Vision got that and licensed it and got that out because he said for the early anime fan who was really interested in things like the Wicked Cities and that kind of stuff, this was right up their alley. So that was really good. And the last one on the list is Minky Momo. Again, so for the people who really dig the magical girl shows, they released another OEVA for that, which is them just trying to prolong the that series. And again, magical girl shows of this kind of caliber weren't in quite yet. The the trend of things like Sailor Moon and that kind of stuff, hasn't really kicked in yet, in place yet, over here. So the following of the magical girl shows, was pretty minimal, and especially in things like Minky Momo, definitely the name was there, but not a lot of people traded it around at that time. Okay, the last movie on this list is called Mars, and again, it's surprising no one actually has released this one. And it's two episode OEVA. Now, the only really interesting thing about this one is this is another one of these forgotten animes that no one bothered translating and no one bothered distributing, so that no one really knows about it. And even though it has a very famous character designer, his name is Hideyuki Motohashi. Now he's known for a lot of different character designs. I mean, his credits include things like the Fushigi Yugi. He's the character design that worked in things like Inuyasha, Sensei Gold. He did a lot of the original old, classic anime, like giant robot type shows. He even did some of the character designs for shows like God Mars, and he did really like the Borgman Last Battle, and and Project Eiko verses. So he did a lot of big names and big stuff. But again, on this particular OVA, just totally went by the wayside, and like no one knows what it is, and just they absolutely forgot about it. Okay, so finally, we finished all the OVAs, and now we're already making hit the 20-minute mark here, so this is getting pretty long. All right, so fortunately, there's not that many movies that got released. Here we have the movies. Is the it's actually the only one really significant one, which is the Yu Yu Hakusho movie. Again, after the TV series, progressed, and and everyone was sort of really, as I said, I thought it was a really good series. For its, a lot of people really liked Yu Yu Hakusho, so they decided to release a movie for that, and that was really good. The next one on here is the Korean Shinchan. Again, very few people here in North America, really cared about Korean Shinchan. Maybe it was a little bit, popular in Japan and all that stuff, but over here, virtually no interest. Okay. And the only other one that sort of had any interest was obviously this one, Sangoshi, which is Legend of the Three Kingdoms, based off of the ancient Chinese sort of story of the Three Kingdoms and the dynasties and stuff like that. So that was really That was really popular. Not very many people found it or subtitled it or anything like that, but it was kind of circulating around in some people's lists. So it was kind of available, and I did remember it. But again, the art style is not your typical anime style, so that's why a lot of people didn't really like it as much. I think, as well as people had a hard time understanding the story because obviously it has a lot of historical reference, but because without the translations, it made it all just that much more difficult. So it was a good enough movie, but again, just no one really got past the translation barrier for that. Other than that, all the rest of the movies on here are of not any significance. There is only one special OVA that came out with, and that is the sort of the practice sort of extra episode for the Slam Dunk TV series, which they decided to televise here. Again, for those people who are interested in Slam Dunk at the time, this is really cool because this is sort of like kind of an add-on, kind of a supplemental episode kind of thing that they did, and and for people who really like Slam Dunk at that time, that was really good. Hilarious.
All right, hope you found that really interesting. And again, we'll be getting into more episodes as we go through the whole entire decade of the 1990s. All right, so until next time, I will see you again.